Alright, so here we are again in the SSL 360. I'm using Studio One and I've created a template, as we can see. I'm gonna talk about the things I noticed, what I would hope to see for this thing in the future, and some other stuff that might be useful, tips and tricks, and so on. So, yeah, this is the view we have in the 360, and all of this, of course, is set up in my DAW. So I've created empty tracks with the 360 link already loaded on all of those tracks. I've created, let's get rid of that and that for a moment. I've created some returns and also some buses with the SSL 360 link compressor. And then I have the 360 link on the master as well, and that's something I'm gonna talk about. Every track is already, the sends are enabled on there. Yeah, then all I did was I dropped my tracks on template, organized them, color coded, and so on. So let's get back into the 360 view. So to keep it up and running, and my controller, which I'm going to show here, there we go, we can see that. We need to have one open in Studio One here. There we go. So now when we go here and click the 360, I can click on a channel and I'm gonna be able to, as we see over there, to adjust the parameters with my controller. All right. So that's how the template works. It's the same with the sends. So the return tracks, I can just click on them. I have the plugins mapped. So when I start turning my knobs, they are turning. Whatever it is, I've mapped an M2. So my controller here is already mapped as a default preset into the 360 link plugin. So every time I open a new one, it's already, I'm ready to turn the knobs with this one. All right. Then the first thing I wanted to talk about after showing the template, how that works, is, well, actually the CPU load. So for my surprise, that's how it looks like. So even when I press play, so we can see the things that actually do take CPU are, for instance, the Epic on insert 1, there on channel 24. So those are the return FX channels. So those are the plugins that actually really take some CPU. The C link here doesn't really seem to be consuming CPU at all. So that was a pretty nice surprise over there. So if you're wondering if your machine is gonna be able to run all of this, yeah, I think so. But this is what I'm running at the moment, so of course it might be dependent on your CPU and memory and so on. So I think on my old laptop this might not be the case, but I don't know. I might have to try it out just for fun. And then I've done something here on one channel. So we stacked a few of those on the vocal channel here. There we go. And what we have is, I put a soft tube saturation. And then the other thing is, of course, again, the SSL waves G channel plugin. I'm using a third-party one here, just for demonstrative purposes. So those are the plugins I have on that channel. And now when we go and we press the 360 link and we go onto that channel, well, the thing is, I got my controller here. This is the channel we're on here. You can see the circle. So when I turn the saturation and saturation type knob that are mapped, my controller again is mapped to every one of these SSL link instances. So yeah, I can turn those. But then when we go up here, we can actually then choose the other plugin we have loaded. So the other SSL link here. There we go. And sometimes I've noticed it acts a bit funny. But now we have the channel strip chosen. But what I noticed is now when I turn my knobs, well, it's actually, for some reason, it doesn't change into the channel strip. So for that, I would have to go back here and open up this one. And then when we go to the 360 view, I would be able to. So that's one of the downsides I noticed. And sometimes it can be dependent on your DAW. So the audio workstation you're using, I've run into all kinds of limitations with these when I've been building my controllers. So I noticed sometimes it's the Arduino that can't do stuff, sometimes it's the DAW, and sometimes it's the Mackie protocol or whatever library I'm using on my Arduino. All right, so, but you can stack, so that's actually pretty cool. And you'll see them up here when you stack the SSL 360 links. So that's totally doable, and that's cool. Then we can actually, when we click onto a empty space like that, we can drag and scroll this with our mouse. So this is very usable with the mouse too. I mean, really the thing about this is having all of your channel strips or plugins that you might want to use while mixing visible at the same time, even the sends and so on. So yeah, that's how you can navigate around easily as well, like that. Then we have the side panel here. I got those 3 compressors on buses, but the thing is, well, we can't see those here. So even though I have channels for them, if I'm using this, we don't see them. And this is the one of the things, like, it would be so cool if you could, of course, route stuff in here into, well, bus channels or so on. We can, of course, and that's what the FX channels here are for, so we can see that. But yeah, that would be really cool. But, you know, again, one of those things, like, I'm not sure if that's possible. So then the FX channels. So as we can see here, what I needed to do in the template was, well, I created the tracks. And then on every track, before I uploaded my audio files on there, I made sure that every channel is ready to send onto those FX channels that we see here. And I do color code like this. So there we go. I got 2 delays basically and 2 reverbs. That's what I have on this template. And yeah, you can of course have as many as you want. But this is a nice way then, when you are on this view, to be able to send stuff into your delays and reverbs. And usually what I do, this is a trick I think is done a lot, is sending your delays, then having those delay send into the reverbs. That does sound really, really different compared to just having them both sending individually. So that's a sound. But yeah, that's how you can do the sends as well on here. And I think that's pretty cool. Of one thing, so this metering window here, which is grayed out, yeah, there you can't use a third-party metering with this at the moment. That would be cool, but yeah, I get it. I haven't found a way to get any sort of metering information here, but we can hide that. And then, of course, the bus channels, I got 3 different ones with the 3 different compressors. So then in Studio One, we could route whatever drums to one of those, guitars to one, and so on. And you can set those up in your template. And the thing is, you don't have to use them. Then we get to the master channel. So this is the weird thing I noticed. So I did this on my master. I have 3 different plugins and I stacked them up, as we can see here on the right. And then I got this black box. I have a soft tube tape. And then I put Ozone 9 vintage limiter here. And then, well, it would be, of course, cool if they would stack up like on the channels, but that's not the case. It actually created 3 different main channels, and as we can see, this sometimes acts a bit weird when I try to click on this channel, or here it jumps on that one. And then I can't, again, my controller now controls the one SSL 360 link that is open in Studio One. But if I click here, well, there we go. It's still moving the one knob over on the right and not that one. So that's something I noticed would be great. Of course, I think I could just run every channel into a bus and then basically have it come into the main, and that way have the plugins linked like we do on the vocal track. But then again, it wouldn't, controller wise, it wouldn't do much, but you know, we wouldn't have 3 different tracks. But then again, this is a way, I mean, that's just weird how when I click some here and it jumps like that. I don't know why it does that. No idea, don't ask me. But yeah, then of course, if you want to have all the effects, master effects you have visible in one view like this, well, that has its advantages too, I think. So that's 2 different ways to do it. And then lastly, what I wanted to talk about, well, how about what if we don't want to do this and we want our controller to be able to control multiple plugins without having to do this thing and not having it move the knobs when we change? Well, for that, I did notice a workaround, so I'm gonna show that. And I know people really diss waves a lot, but this is free. You don't have to, I think, sign up to anything. Well, I mean, you have to create an account, but I mean, you don't have to do any kind of subscription thing. It did want me to log in, so I'm gonna show this thing. And first of all, let's load one of these 360 links, and then configure link. So as seen on the first video, we can use any third-party plugins here. After we've done, when we click here on the plugins, we do our scans. And as I showed too, you can actually choose if you have many folders that the VSTs are installed to. So you can just do that, have all the folders you use scanned. So here we have then our list of all the plugins that are scanned and ready to be used with this. So then let's go to the waves. is this sort of, and I don't, that's kind of like the annoying thing about this is that it has, I'll say ads on it. But let's go. I don't know how to click this off. I wish I did, but what we can do here is we can then load multiple plugins into this one. And we can again do all sorts of third-party plugins as well. Those, it doesn't have to be waves. All we need to do again is scan our VSTs. And I have a few scanned here. So let's, for instance, let's choose something here from, let's choose from IK Multimedia. And now we got 2 plugins loaded on this one. This is loaded into the 360 link. And then we can go here. We got 8 macros, so we can do it like this. We can just put the de-esser, DS, and release, bypass on those. And then the one up louder. There we go. So now those 2 plugins are mapped into these macros. Then we can return into the 360 link, configure that. So now we go here into the assignable parameters. We have the whole list of, I don't know why there's so much, but we did our macros. So we could go here to the macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, macro 4. Then all we have to do is basically just remember what those are, which can be quite hard. So of course we could just find the de-esser things here, which then would give us actually the names of the parameters, like that. All right, then out of the configure link, 360. And now we got them on one channel strip here. So that's another way to do it, kind of a workaround from this. And now, of course, when I go here, I have my controller. I can control the parameters of multiple plugins with my controller from that one channel. So that's pretty cool. Then what I want to show you too is, well, I have my keyboard here and I got faders. So we can take a look and see that when I do stuff here, well, my faders start to move. And I do have the information, there's this little screen here, so it does give me information when I start moving something, like what channel I am actually on. So the channel name does come up on there, but these buttons here that I then can select channels with aren't, you know, the color don't change. So that's Studio One and the 360 link speaking back to each other, or Studio One and this controller actually. So this is much different on Ableton, because Ableton actually, the tracks of the colors do change the color on these LEDs. So that's really handy for figuring out where you actually are, because then when we are here, we got this sort of a thing, and we want to go further. Well, now I went up by going down and up channels. It's kind of hard with this type of controller to actually know where you are. So in the end, it might be just faster to do your slider movements with the mouse still. So you might be just better off with the mouse and scrolling and so on. And then let's take a look. So another thing on here, of course, is that when I'm on a channel and then when I move my knobs like that, well, I don't have any ideas about the value or whatnot. So I do need to put my mouse over if I do want to know like that. But in the end, well, this whole thing, kind of the idea of it is to mix with your, as they say, ears. And then you learn your tool, because in the end, this thing is a tool. It's a channel strip. So then when you learn, when you turn knobs like, oh, that does this and this on. So in the end, at some point where you keep doing it and practicing, it's gonna be a lot more faster doing your tweaking and EQing and compression and so on. So yeah, and I think I pretty much covered the stuff that I noticed about this and some of the tips I wanted to share. And then also I talked a little bit what would be cool if it could be done in the future, being able to route in here into your sense. No, I mean the buses and so on. So that would be amazing. But all in all, this is cool, and especially for breathing already. See if you can make this. So there we go. This is a multi-track. I just got the stems from a different project, slapped it on here, and it wasn't really mixed at all. But there we go. We saw a little bit of the workflow and how you can get around here and do some mixing pretty quickly and easily without having to pop up all your plugins. Yeah, just turning the EQs and see and hear what works and so on. So now I did it with the mouse. Like I said, it can be much quicker actually that way. It depends. It depends. But anyways, here it is this time. Next time something else. So I'm off. Hope this was helpful. If you have questions or comments, let me know. Have fun. Rock on.